The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
And welcome in, everybody, to Mock Draft Mondays number 2 here with the High Low Sports Podcast. It is DJ. Joining you today is every Monday leading up to the NFL Draft. We're going to go ahead and jump into the NFL Mock Draft Simulator, run through the first round of the mock draft of some wacky ideas that might pop in my head, as well as based on some of the rumors and other things that might be going on between now and then. It is kind of that part of the year where we see a lot of smoke screens, a little bit of fire, and a lot of risers and fallers as well. So we're going to see if we could put together some rough mock draft ideas and just see if any of them happen to hit or what ones might end up playing out once the NFL draft is actually underway. So right here, Carolina is on the clock, so we're going to get right into it as well. And for as much as I'd like to do something wacky and fun with this one, I do feel like quarterback's going to be the pick. And for the second week in a row, we're going to stick with Bryce Young at number 1. A lot of the rumors are saying a lot of the team members on the team, as far as the staff and coaching staff, ownership, GM, etc., are really starting to warm up to the idea of Bryce Young. So we're going to go ahead and take him number 1. That's going to take us now to the Houston Texans at number 2. There's been a lot of rumors that they might not necessarily be looking to take a quarterback. They might take a Will Anderson, something along those lines. There was also rumors of them looking to trade down with Arizona to that number 3 spot. So I think they are open for business. And what we're going to do, we're going to say Houston's going to make a trade. They're going to trade the 2nd overall pick, and they're going to go to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think is going to be the trade that we will see here as well. I'm going to say I think there's going to be, I don't know exactly what the compensation will be, but I think the Raiders are going to trade up with the Texans. So we're going to see them jump all the way to 2, and then Houston stockpiling some picks for the future there. And at pick number 2, I think Las Vegas is going to go after the ultimate ceiling guy in Anthony Richardson, the combine warrior, the freakish athleticism, the rocket arm, the young 21-year-old, used to call himself Cam Jackson in college. I think they're going to trade up to get Anthony Richardson, give him a chance to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a year or two, work with the Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs in practice. Josh McDaniels is the same guy who drafted Tim Tebow in the first round. Anthony Richardson has a lot more potential than Tim Tebow did and is already a much better passer with a much higher ceiling. So Anthony Richardson, almost a historic climb similar to Trayvon Walker of last year, getting taken at number 2 by the Raiders. Number 3 for the Arizona Cardinals. I think they will be open for business here a lot, but I don't think anyone's going to trade back up with them. I think they are going to stick and pick, and we're going to say that they will take Jalen Carter, the dominant defensive lineman out of Georgia. There are talks he might slip in this a little bit just with those off-the-field concerns, that miserable pro day where he showed up out of shape and didn't even fully complete it. But I think when you go back, you look at the tape, you look at what he's done his couple years at Georgia, those 2 historic defenses, he is the player that stood out. He is the consensus best player coming off those Georgia defenses. So we're going to take Jalen Carter despite all that, considering Arizona just needs players. So I'm going to say they take Jalen Carter. That's now going to take us to pick number 4 with Indianapolis. And this time, sounds like they're not trading up. They sound content with all of the quarterbacks as well. So we're going to say they're going to stick and pick, and that CJ Stroud is going to fall right into their laps. Last week, we had them trading up to 3 to get him. Right now, it feels like they're content with any of the 4, so I think they will stick and pick. And the way this one's going to play out is I think CJ Stroud's going to fall right to him as well. So the Colts getting CJ Stroud they basically get plowed for Stroud after the miserable last season that we saw. It's now going to take us to Seattle here at pick number 5. And Seattle has a lot of options here. I'm going to look at Tyree Wilson, the lengthy, dominant edge rusher from Texas Tech. 6'6", 86-inch wingspan, 275, wears it well. Extremely explosive off the edge. A lot of people are having him as edge number 1, even over Will Anderson Jr. And I think some of those traits, we see what Seattle likes with the corners. I think they're going to like a lot of that with the edge rushers, like a Tyree Wilson too. So see, Tyree Wilson is the first edge player off the board here at 5 to Seattle. And then at 6, we know what Dan Campbell likes. We know that Detroit has a lot of needs, but I think that he's going to be enamored with the idea of Will Anderson, but I think he's going to take the cornerback Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. They need corners. They need secondary help. And I think they just traded Jeff Okudah. Christian Gonzalez is sitting right there on a silver platter. I don't think they're going to pass up on the chance to take arguably the best corner in the draft. Him or Witherspoon is a great pick here. And Houston gets their way in this situation. You trade back to pick number 7, and arguably the person you would have taken at pick number 2 is still sitting there, Will Anderson Jr. They still kind of need that quarterback position, but I'm going to say right here, they're going to stick with Will Anderson. DeMeco Ryans coming from San Francisco. He saw them go to the NFC Championship game with 4 different quarterbacks last year. He knows what the effect of a dominant defensive line and pass rush can do, going back to 2019 when they went to the Super Bowl, and even the last couple of years as well. So we're going to say he continues to build on that defense, and they're going to take Will Anderson Jr., arguably a top 2 player in the draft, at number 7. Number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. They have quite a few needs, but by all intents and purposes, it sounds like they're going to roll with Desmond Ridder as the starting quarterback. So in this case, what you want to do for Desmond Ridder is you need defensive help. You need a lot of it, but that division's there's a lot of holes in that division. It's not a very strong division. So I'm going to say they're going to stay here and they're going to take Devin Witherspoon, the corner out of Illinois. You have AJ Terrell, an outstanding corner. You drafted some good edge players the last couple of years with Lorenzo Carter, Arnold Ebiketie. You have Grady Jarrett. You want to see them develop a little bit. I think getting someone versatile like Devin Witherspoon, who can play in the nickel, can play outside, can play man, can play zone, and is good with run fits and tackling. So we'll take Devin Witherspoon to Atlanta, trying to load up on that defense. Now at pick number 9, we have the Chicago Bears. And if the board falls like this, where they have their take of the offensive lineman available, I love Peter Skoronski. I think he's the best offensive lineman. I think he projects better inside as a guard, where I think Chicago's going to be really looking for a tackle. And nobody fits what they would like more than Darnell Wright, the big mauler out of Tennessee. Primarily played right tackle because he was such a large, dominant, powerful blocker as well. And he was incredible in pass coverage. Watch what he did to Will Anderson in that Alabama game. He had his way, and with the way Chicago, a mobile quarterback like Justin Fields, they're going to run the ball a lot. So I like Darnell Wright as a nice blend between all the offensive linemen. So you see Darnell Wright as the first offensive lineman off the board. Now at 10 with the Philadelphia Eagles, there's a lot they could do here. Last week we had them taking Bijan Robinson to have a little bit of fun. This week we're going to go with probably a more conventional route. I think they're going to be looking at the defensive line here as well. And when you see some of the guys available, I like Lucas Van Ness to Philadelphia. Nolan Smith makes a lot of sense. They're basically building Georgia 2.0 on that defense. But I really like Lucas Van Ness's ability to play inside and outside. He could fill some of the space lost by Hargrave in free agency on some of those passing downs as an interior rusher, as well as on the edge. He can set the edge powerfully in place of Brandon Graham or any of those guys as well. So let's bring in Lucas Van Ness to Philadelphia. At number 11, Tennessee Titans. Honestly, I really, really want to give them Will Levis here. I really do, because they are kind of in the hunt for a quarterback, but I don't think Will Levis is their kind of guy. I think what they're going to do to try and be competitive is load up more on that offensive line, run with Derrick Henry, Tannehill being the efficient kind of game manager quarterback. They do need receiver help. They need offensive help altogether. So we're going to take Peter Skoronski, someone they could play at tackle, at guard, wherever they need, just to kind of rebuild that offensive line. Maybe sounds like they don't believe too much in Malik Willis, so they might be in the quarterback market still, but I don't think they're going to take Will Levis to this spot. So we'll go with Peter Skoronski. Speaking of Will Levis, though, sitting there at pick number 12 for the Houston Texans, I think when I look at Will Levis, he's not quite the type of quarterback I would expect for DeMeco Ryans to take early. But considering he's able to trade back, get more picks, and where they're sitting now at pick number 12, they have a lot of holes still. But I think this is where they'll pull the trigger. They'll take Will Levis here if he is sitting there at 12. He'll probably have to preach taking care of the ball. DeMeco Ryans is probably going to be a little more of that conservative ball control with the defensive mind as well. So I think if they can get Will Levis to turn down the turnovers, his big playability is something that he'll like a lot as well. So we'll go and take Will Levis here at pick number 12 for the Houston Texans. At pick 13, we got the New York Jets, who maybe this pick goes to Green Bay, but I highly doubt it. So we're going to say they stick and pick here. We're going to say they go for the offensive lineman, trying to keep their new franchise quarterback protected, and Paris Johnson Jr. out of Ohio State sitting right there. Arguably the best pass protector, arguably the most athletic too, just an absolute freak of nature at the tackle position. Easy, they'll run that card right up to him. Now we got the New England Patriots here at pick number 14, and they have a good amount of needs, but I'm going to go with a little bit of fun here, because we know how Bill Belichick likes to break the mold a little bit. So we're going to go with not edge rusher. We're actually going to go interior defensive line here. We're going to say they take Kalijah Kancey, the athletic interior rusher out of Pittsburgh. His ability to play inside on the rush downs, you could probably put him at edge. He's so explosive. He's not that great against the run, but as a rotational pass rusher, I think he can cause a lot of fits. And we do know that Belichick and that drafting squad likes to go a little bit against the mold. They need offensive help, especially at pass catchers, such as receivers, but I don't think there's any receivers they feel comfortable taking right now. So we're going to take Kalijah Kancey climbing up the boards. And maybe taken ironically at pick number 14, if I'm not mistaken. A former Pittsburgh defensive tackle was taken there as well. And while Kancey is not quite the prospect that Aaron Donald was, I think some weird, interesting similarities have been drawn the whole way. So this would be a nice little poetic feel to it as well. Now at pick number 15, we got the Green Bay Packers. And as much as it'd be funny to see them take a receiver here in the first round as kind of that, it's almost like a spite against Aaron Rodgers with a lot of the talk saying he never had a first round receiver. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they don't mind the receiving core. I think it's a pretty decent receiver core draft going into like the second and third rounds. Nobody that you need to reach for here. We're going to go with offensive lineman. I like Broderick Jones, the athletic mammoth out of Georgia. He'll help you in the run game with A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. He'll help you in the pass game with Jordan Love. You can roll Jordan Love out of the pocket. You want to keep him healthy. Your young quarterback's first starting season. Give him every opportunity to succeed. So we'll go with Broderick Jones here at 15. 16 with Washington. Sounds like they're going with Sam Howell. Jacoby Brissett is the backup potential starter. You have a lot of good receiving weapons from Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. You're good at running back. Defensively, I think you can use a little bit of help in the secondary. And you know what? We're going to have a little fun with this one. We're going to take Brian Branch, the versatile safety / corner out of Alabama. I think his ability to play in the nickel as well as safety and just kind of be moved all over the place makes him very valuable. When you look at the front four that Washington already has in the pass rush, they're going to be able to get after. They need some guys on the back end that can hold up and bring a little bit of versatility. So we're going to go with Brian Branch here to Washington. 17 with Pittsburgh. This one, everyone says it a lot. And I'm going to speak it into existence too. We're going to say they take Joey Porter Jr. The bloodlines, you know what? I don't have to explain it. Everybody knows at this point. Joey Porter Jr. joining Pittsburgh, it just feels right. Now at pick number 18, we have the Detroit Lions who, you know what? We're going to have a little bit of fun with them. So we're going to say that this is a trade back scenario as well too. And we're going to go ahead and fire up the trade. Let's go ahead and find Detroit. And we're going to say that we have ourselves an interesting trade up situation here. Is we're going to say the Philadelphia Eagles are going to climb from pick number 30. They have the additional picks. Normally they accumulate them. But in this case, we're going to say that they have a little bit of fun, something like that as well, too. We'll say that. Let's see. Let's get this thing to allow it. Let's see. Trade. So we're going to see Philadelphia climb all the way up here as well. And, you know, there's a good reason for this one. I have a really good reason for this one. We're going to say that they're going to take Nolan Smith, the edge, out of Georgia. So we're going to have them double down on edge rushers. I know they have Hassan Reddick. Brandon Graham's getting a little bit old. Fletcher Cox is getting a little bit old. We see a lot of age there as well. Offensive line, they've done a pretty good job retooling. And when I just see somebody like Nolan Smith, I'm going to say they trade all the way up to go get a Nolan Smith. Is it likely? Probably not. Nolan Smith might actually slip to them down there. But we're going to have a little bit of fun with them. So we're going to say Nolan Smith, they continue to build that Georgia defense just to surprise all of us. Philadelphia is known for accumulating picks the last few years. I think this one they go really aggressive because they saw in the Super Bowl that pass rush was wild. I don't want to say neutralized, but mitigated just a little bit. So we're going to say in this situation, they go up and they just load up on it. You'll have Hassan Reddick, Jordan Davis, Brandon Graham's getting older, Fletcher Cox getting older. This means in a year, you're still set at edge. And the versatility they both provide. You could put Nolan Smith in space if you want to. He's such a versatile athlete, and there's a lot that he provides. So they double down on 2 top 10 caliber edge players. Now with Tampa Bay, we're going to say we have another trade back here as well, too, as we're going to switch over to Tampa Bay. This one isn't as major of a one as we're just going to have the Los Angeles Chargers trading up here as well. Let's go ahead and just let that one go across. The Chargers trading up to pick number 19, just trying to jump Seattle because there is a receiver on their board that I think they like a lot. There's one thing that this offense really could use with Justin Herbert. I think it is speed, so I think they're going to jump up to go and get Zay Flowers. I think Zay Flowers is receiver 1 in this draft. And I think Seattle, they might be looking at a receiving target as well. Zay Flowers has a lot of Tyler Lockett in him. So I'm going to say the Chargers climb up just to ensure that they don't get jumped as well, too, because I think that's going to be the top guy on their board. Seattle, ironically, also I'm going to say is looking in the receiver market as well, just to give Geno all the weapons they can. You have Kenneth Walker. You have a lot going on there. Your defense is young and still starting to grow. You grabbed Tyree Wilson earlier. I say they take Jackson Smith and Jigba, the receiver out of Ohio State. A very nice complementary piece to the deep vertical threats of DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So let's get Jackson Smith and Jigba to catch probably 70 passes in his rookie year as that slot receiver for Seattle. He's going to have a lot of open looks to get open against some of those defensive backs, considering all the attention is going to be paid to 14 and 16 on the outside. Now Tampa Bay picking here at 21. There's a lot of options they could go with here. They need offensive line help badly, though. So we're going to go ahead and go to offensive line. I really like Anton Harrison, the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. The offensive lineman, there's a bit of a dip here coming up after the tackles. Anton Harrison, if you miss him now, some of these other guys, they're really good, but there's a little bit of a gap as far as the prospect goes. So we'll take Anton Harrison here. Baltimore at pick number 22. It sounds like they're trying to keep Lamar in house. It looks like bringing in Odell to go with Rashad Bateman. I think they're going to continue to load up on versatile playmakers and pass catchers as well. So we're going to go and take Quentin Johnson here. Size, speed, strength, has some work with like catching the ball, high pointing it, as well as his ability to run routes, but just a big catch radius as well. You got Odell, who's now you just have explosiveness on the outside. So we're going to get Quentin Johnson. Gives you a very wide catch radius. There's a lot of areas you could throw the ball to. Minnesota at pick 23. They need defensive help across the board. They were absolutely terrible defensively to the point where every single game was a one-possession game, it felt like last year. So we're going to say defense. They're going to just go with edge rusher. They just need to get after the passer. Myles Murphy is sitting right there. I'm going to say that's who they go with, just somebody to go. Does Zadarius Smith, is he being released? Is he not? We don't know. Danielle Hunter, injuries have been a little bit of a concern. Just refortify that pass rush as well. Jacksonville at pick number 24. They have Calvin Ridley coming in, who's like a nice little surprise. So I think they're going to look a little bit more towards the defensive side as well. It looks like Evan Ingram is coming back as well too. So we're going to go down here. We're going to go at corner, and I really like Emmanuel Forbes, and a lot of people are starting to like him too. Him being 160 pounds is a little head scratch. It's a little bit worrisome, but the technique, the speed, the fact that he has so many pick sixes, plays on the ball, just when you watch him play, he's absolutely fantastic. So we're going to take Emmanuel Forbes to Jacksonville. Pick number 25, the New York Giants. They really just could use some offensive help, especially in the pass catcher spot as well, very similar to some of these other teams. And I think the run on receiver starts now. Jordan Addison arguably could be receiver 1, could be receiver 4. It all depends on who you talk to. But I think in this case, Addison, based on other teams' needs and fits, Addison will slip here to the Giants, who they will not hesitate to take here. And the fun part now, pick number 26, the Dallas Cowboys. If Bijan Robinson is sitting right there for him, right for the taking. I know you have Tony Pollard, you franchise tagged him. There's no guarantee he's coming back, though. You're sitting here at 26 for a top, in my opinion, it's going to be a top 5 prospect in the draft. Just positional value might cause him to slip a little bit like we see here. There's a good chance somebody might trade up for him. But in this case, we're going to say Bijan Robinson goes to the Cowboys at pick number 26. That's quite the fit for him, and look for him to have an outstanding rookie year behind that offensive line as well. Now to Buffalo at pick number 27. They really need some help on the offensive line. They need to keep Josh Allen as protected as they can, considering he likes to hold the ball and kind of try and be a little bit too creative, so you need all the offensive line help you can get. A lot of the tackles are gone, but you do have one of the better interior offensive linemen hanging out with Osiris Torres out of Florida. So bring in Osiris Torres, see if they can keep him protected and keep him upright a little bit longer. Cincinnati here at pick number 28. They really could use some secondary help as well. I look at the corners. They got some really, really good corners here. They also need help at safety, which is where I think they're going to make the move. And I like Antonio Johnson out of Texas A&M, arguably the second best safety in the class. You lost both of your starting safeties. You need to replace those. So I think it's either Antonio Johnson or they grab a Kelee Ringo and maybe put him at safety, because there's a lot of talk about him being moved there as well. But we're going to stick with Antonio Johnson here. Now at pick number 29, we got the New Orleans Saints. They have new quarterback Derek Carr. I don't know if Alvin Kamara is going to be available. Your receiving core is really, really good. I think what they're going to do here is look a little bit defensively, just to try and build up the defense a little bit as well, to make sure that it can stay. It's been strong the last few years. I think they're going to try and keep it going that way as well too. So we're going to scroll down, and I think they're going to stay in Louisiana. I like BJ Ojulari, the edge from LSU as well. Very versatile, could play up and down the line for them as well. So let's bring in BJ Ojulari, staying in Louisiana. Now at pick number 30, we got the Detroit Lions via the trade with the Eagles earlier. I think in this case, you look at the best tight end still sitting on the board in Dalton Kincaid. They traded TJ Hawkinson last year during the middle of the season. I think if you can get Dalton Kincaid here, that is a runaway pick for Detroit. And now we have Kansas City here sitting at number 31. Last week, I had a little bit of fun and gave them Darnell Washington. Right now, when I look at it, obviously they could use some receiver help. There's a lot of pretty good receivers. I think they're willing to kind of sit on some of those as well. So I think they'll look to refortify the defense just a little bit as well. I like Mozzie Smith, the defensive lineman out of Michigan, here to go to Kansas City, just to fortify the run defense a little bit as well. You have Chris Jones, you got George Karlaftis last year. We're going to say they bring in Mozzie Smith. A lot of those young secondary players last year really emerged for them down the stretch as well. So we're going to bring in Mozzie Smith to round out the first round. And you can see there are a lot of good players that are going to get to the second round, as we see with every draft too. Deontay Banks, Michael Mayer, Brian Bresee, Darnell Washington, Jahmyr Gibbs, Cam Smith. The one that everyone's talking about, Hendon Hooker, who might possibly slip there into round 2, Jack Campbell. There's a lot of really good options in round 2. But this is how I have mock draft number 2 playing out this week as well too. Be sure to tune in next week for mock draft Monday number 3 and leading up into the NFL draft, which you'll be able to catch our live stream for the first round as well too on our YouTube page and other channels as well. If you didn't get a chance to catch mock draft Monday number 1, I'll have the link in the description. Go check that out as well too. We appreciate you all joining in and hanging out with us for this mock draft Monday part 2. Let me know what you think. What were some good picks? What were some crazy picks? Where did I go off the rails? Which ones do you think might have been underratedly good and can come true? Let us know in the comment section below. But I'll see you guys again next week for mock draft Monday number 3.